What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 151 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about Sonic news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me here to talk about the future of Sonic is Devin.
I guess this isn't over until I bop all the big bots.
I usually have to guess what he's referencing here, and that's probably from, I don't know, one of the cartoons, Sonic Boom, maybe?
Come on, this is a gimme. This is an easy one. I picked an easy one.
Was this
is
from
today?
06?
No, it's from today. I heard this one today for the first time.
And Frontiers?
It's in Frontiers.
Oh.
He says that after beating Gigantino.
Oh, okay. He just jumps to that
Amy.
conclusion. I remembered that
Yeah.
because I did that a couple days ago.
That's soft
few days ago.
spoilers, but I'm assuming if you're clicking this, you've already probably played the game. But
yes, welcome to the Sonic Movie Show. We are a weekly podcast on YouTube and as well as a variety of podcast platforms. We are now videoized, so if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, whatever, check out the YouTube version. We have a cool new layout and stuff.
honestly, this is the first time I've ever seen Ethan.
That's how that works. Yeah, we call
It's
each
the
other
same for
on
me
our
too.
cell phones. Yeah, yeah, just like Drake did.
Never seen this. I've never seen this man before.
Yeah, we did 150 episodes, just audio, and we've decided, you know what, for 151 and onwards, starting with Mewtwo, I think he was 151.
Yeah,
Or maybe he was 150. I don't know.
so he's
Starting with
151 because I think he wasn't like he was like the special one. Yeah. Pokemon.
sure. Sorry, we decided
we
with
canceled
151
Pokemon recently. So
I mean, just great Game Freak. Game Freak has a lot in common with Sonic. All their fans think that they don't deserve to make their games, and maybe Scarlet and Violet are proving that to be correct because it's not a good-looking game, and it's not even that ambitious, and it's broken. But yeah, we do all sorts of Sonic movie news stuff, as well as video game movie reviews and Sonic stuff in general. We're going to talk about Sonic Frontiers and what we've played so far, both spoiler-free and our opinions on like that stuff, as well as going full spoilers and talking about what we've done, leading up. I have a feeling I'm further than you based off your quote. Oh, I know I'm farther than you based off your quote. But let's actually begin with a news item. We'll usually maybe do some news items before big topics like this, but today is a really big news item. I don't know how much we can really go into detail on it besides the fact that it exists, but a report. Legendary Sonic designer Yuji Naka was arrested in Japan for insider trading. This comes from Kotaku. And this is crazy. Essentially, a couple days ago, himself and two other people, those people working at Square Enix, got arrested for insider trading. Yuji Naka did this well before he tried suing Square over the Bland Wonder World stuff, which we never actually played. And I have that sitting on my shelf over there. Essentially, there was a Dragon Quest mobile game being developed or going to be starting developed by a studio called Aiming. And Square Enix basically made that deal with them, but a couple key people, including Yuji Naka, who was at Square maybe for a few months. Or maybe this was halfway through. When was this? Was this 2020? Or 2020? This had to have been 2020.
you would know more than me.
Yeah, this was 2020. So he was like halfway through Balan Wonderworld's development when he decided he would get on that money train. He spent the equivalent of $20,000 on Aiming's stocks, which obviously they boomed once Square did their deal with them.
That's a lot of money. I can't. Anything past 1,000 to me is like wow.
Well, what's funny is that the other guy, Sasaki, one of the main people that did it, he put in $188,000. Well, the equivalent in Japanese yen.
I mean, that's how the stock market works. You could pretend to put a couple, $50 in there, here and there, and you're really not going to get big numbers to change your life. But if you know how to play the game and you have $200,000 to spare, that's how you start to get some money.
Yep.
That's how the
Until
rich.
you get
One of the ways
arrested.
rich get richer. Yeah. or you get caught.
I'm not entirely certain how Japanese law works. Not that I really know how American law works. But I know that it's different from us in a lot of ways where you are, I believe, assumed guilty and not innocent at the beginning, and you have to be proven innocent
Oh.
afterwards. At least that's how culture on the internet has taught me about Japan and their legal system. So who knows how white collar crime works? I mean, the guy that assassinated their prime minister, Shinto Abe, gave them demands beforehand, and now after the fact, they're doing some of them. So, who knows? Japan might have a more honor based system with some of this stuff. So, this is just crazy to think, and it's not entirely. I'm not entirely surprised something like this happened. You remember, Devin, all of the allegations with him and Balan Wonderworld with Square Enix and the company that was developing it, where he said Arctic, they're not fans of games, and they wouldn't let him essentially 2 weeks before the game was supposed to come out make major changes to it, which seems like a reasonable thing to not allow because the game's coming out, and all that stuff. But I don't know if were you following him on Twitter?
I mean, I think maybe starting a year ago. I wouldn't say like I've been following him since, the early days of Twitter or anything. But I only found out more about him as we started doing this show. So for me, it's kind of like, I can't really say I have too much of an opinion on it. I mean, I feel like I in the past, we generally gave him a benefit of the doubt. I've always, in the last, I feel like for this kind of stuff too, I always will side with like people who are fighting the corporations and the bureaucracy of things.
For sure.
So that kind of stuff that you're talking about with like meeting deadlines and the game's not ready, which the game didn't review well, didn't sell well, so maybe he was right. Obviously, this is alleged. We don't know anything, but he's arrested, which probably isn't good for him. But yeah, it makes his character or his person harder for me to believe now about other shit he said. But it's just crazy. The guy who created Sonic, like this is happening like 20 years later, 25 years later. It's just hard to believe, but I guess, I don't know. I feel like once you get higher up in companies, like this kind of shit,
he always
changes people, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know too much, and I know you and I have always wanted to do some sort of, I don't know, docu-series thing, some sort of Naka-cast on him, and I'm glad we just put it off until now, because we could have the definitive end to his career, which makes our podcast, we don't need to update it afterwards. But I only followed him.
Makes it more interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah. I thought, because we can talk about that another day, but we were initially going to lead it up until Balan Wonderworld, over a year and a half ago. Obviously, it's not something we even did. But then, and the game came out to be terrible. It's a sad way to end it. And then, a year later, it was and he's suing Square and all this. This is interesting. And now he's arrested, and Square put out a statement that's basically saying to all those concerned, we are sorry that, we are addressing and punishing those possible. So Square is probably not going to do anything nice for Naka in this regard. They might for the two people that worked at Square. Maybe they'll use their legal team or something. I don't know. Maybe does this hurt Square at all? I don't know. But
yeah, we're not lawyers.
They're definitely
so
not
no
doing
idea.
anything for Yuji Naka. But I started following him on Twitter months ago when he was tweeting about the lawsuit that he was having with Square, and people would draw artwork of characters, and it would be character designs that he worked on plus Sega ones, and he would literally reply to that person saying to not at the other creators because it's not nice, because he's in a lawsuit with them. And this fan artist was okay, sorry. I just drew Sonic.
You don't have to
Knights
respond.
And your Balan
You don't have
dude.
to respond. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's Twitter. You don't have
it's not like they mailed you a letter.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. They
But,
didn't show up to your house, knock on the door, and be like, "Look at my fan art." Like you literally can just block it, ignore it,
and move on. You
and
know?
move on.
Probably for the best.
Or maybe
'cause
just
then
don't have Twitter.
And if it does, if for
At that
whatever
point,
reason,
if you're in
this-
lawsuits, maybe it's best to just not have any forward-facing social
right,
media.
because let's say that example there with the fan art thing somehow did hurt him. Obviously, it doesn't. He could easily just pretend he didn't see it, but he can't.
Yeah.
Because he did. But regardless,
But when you quote tweet it, that's a different story.
shortly before that was when he posted a development photo of, I think, Bland Wonderworld, and there was a person in this crowd that he did this group, selfie with, that is after the fact. This is a printed photo that he took a picture of, and he sharpied over this entire person.
I think it was around the time of the release of that. I remember now, but it was I think a picture from like Sonic Adventure or something.
Oh yeah.
I think it was an older photo. That's why it was like a printed photo, not like a iPhone selfie or whatever.
And it was Naoto Oshima, the character artist of Sonic, that worked with him on Bland Wonderworld, who
weird.
was one of the people that voted to kick him from the project, which is why he sued. So obviously it's like that Facebook meme, I'm no longer friends with this person, now this person's my friend. Like, this dude he's been working on stuff with for over 30 years, ousted him, which is probably not a good sign.
It's very like rom-com or just a romance movie in general would be like the ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, I'm so heartbroken, I'm ripping up the photos of us together, but why post it? It's just so weird. It's just petty as hell. Like, just take it private or just do the lawsuit and keep it. I don't know. Just because people who do that are trying to use their followers to push an agenda of some sort.
100%.
Let's just be real about what that is. You know what I mean? You don't post it on social without or it's to say, look, I'm being demonized. I'm being kicked out. I created Sonic and this is how they're, whatever.
Yep. And we know he's had a history of, I created Sonic, I should get more money. And, that is back in the early days of literally the original Sonic. Yes, he made Sonic's mascot or Saga's mascot the only hit really they had in a long time. He deserves to make more than just the median programmer's salary. I think that, you know what I mean? But I think that's kind of carried with him. But how many hits has he had? Not many. Not even, especially since he left Sega. Not really any. So, but I had been following him on Twitter because of that whole scene, and he came out with an iPhone game, or a mobile game, Android and iPhone, called Shot 2048, I think it was called. I played it a bunch.
You sent me screenshots of that, yeah.
It's very basic. It is literally using Unity assets he purchased. He actually did a tweet at one point talking about the quote-unquote development cost in the game. It was just the assets. I'm like, what about all the time you spent? You're worth... But, when you work for yourself, maybe you don't value... And he's out a lot of money. Yeah. He was just bragging about how easy it is to make a game these days, which is true and good. Anyone could have made that game. Didn't need to take his expertise, But besides that, and then also every now and then he would tweet something that would get somewhat popular and sneak that in, hey, you should support my game. I'm glad I'm making games.
Is it like the check out my SoundCloud? Kind of.
Yeah.
I miss those days of Twitter, man.
Yeah.
It was 20.
Now everyone uses I don't have a SoundCloud, but go donate to this organization instead. I'm like, okay. But
my favorite is or check out these magic wands for your the sex toys. Nice. I saw a couple of those. I thought those were funny.
Nice.
But sometimes it would even be a sponsor. I just use these. Just thought that's funny.
Ever since that, there was one tweet where he literally did confirm Michael Jackson worked on Sonic 3's music.
That was cool. I remember that. I think that was a breaking news thing. Yeah,
we did an episode on it. But then basically throughout this entire year, most of his tweets are middle-age crisis type stuff. He's really into drone racing, and he clearly has a lot of money because he's going to racetracks. He spent lots of photos with
he got some of his money potentially,
allegedly, extremely expensive cars and stuff. Not that he drove them, although I think he did test drive, or maybe one of his kids did something. But lots of lots of stuff like
Big money,
that, but
showing the wealth off a little bit.
yeah.
Okay.
It is sucks. It is sucks. It does suck that he was, arrested and his career might end. But from what I've heard, he's kind of allegedly an awful person to work for and with. So, maybe back when he was a scrappy 20-something working with a team of 8 people to make a Mario rival, and they were just experimenting and throwing stuff around, he was a cool guy to work with and for. But
yeah, honestly, the best comparison I can think of with all this going on, outside of the alleged crime, but just in terms of like his, I guess, trajectory, is like Hideo Kojima and how much different he handled his situation compared to Yuji Naka. I just think that is a good comparison, just because there was clearly beef there, there was clearly issues there, corporate wide and whatnot, and Kojima just kind of dipped. There's a lot of questions that will never be answered, but he just took kind of the high road a little bit, and that's why I think Death Stranding sold so well. It was because if he came out and was like, fuck Konami, they're awful people, it did that, like was on Twitter constantly, I can guarantee you no one would be hyped about Death Stranding.
Plus,
would it still sell? Maybe, because it's Sony and they have good backing of marketing and shit. But you know what I mean, where there's different type of clout that Kojima has, despite potentially. And, we don't know. Maybe the Konami issues could be part of it. Could be him.
That's what I was going to say.
We really don't know that.
he could have been the prima donna. No, give me a $10-20 billion or $1 million budget to add all these 80s songs and Kiefer Sutherland. He could have been a prima donna about it. We don't know that.
Yeah.
He could have been, we don't know. I don't think so. And he did exactly what you said. He shut the fuck up about it, refused to answer questions about it. And now it's only like around this, like a few months ago, maybe earlier this year, time is flying by so quickly, where he's openly talking about working on Metal Gear Solid stuff in the past and this and that. He's not saying, and Konami and blah, blah, blah. He's just saying, oh yeah, for Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, we did this and this. So this is definitely the opposite coin of the Yuji Naka stuff. But at the same time, Naka's had a lot of bad games attached to him. You know what I mean? A lot of mediocre games, where Kojima has maybe a mediocre game somewhere in his.
At least Kojima will his games might not be for everybody, but like at least they're respectable. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the big thing for Kojima. I know we've talked about it. I'll briefly say, like, for me, like Death Stranding, not my cup of tea, but I get it. I get why people enjoy it. I get what he's trying to do with it. It's different. I will never shit on anyone for trying something different, being creative, especially in a world where it's all about making money, baby. If you're able to take a chance and be creative and do something completely different and go for it. And even if it's not for me, I support it. So, but yeah, we'll see how this Yuji Naka stuff unfolds, and maybe one day we'll do our Yuji Naka cast story,
that
whatever you want to call it.
Might be fun to do in the future. But why don't we talk about our main topic today, Sonic Frontiers. It's a video game that came out.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a little scrappy indie game made by a small company called Sega, Sonic Team. Sonic Frontiers came out, a couple weeks ago? A week ago?
November 8th, 9th? It was around election week, whatever.
We've been playing States. We've been playing it. Neither of us are finished. Obviously, you could probably guess by now, Devin is at least a boss in. But yeah, we wanted to talk about our like non-spoilery, opinions on it, and then maybe go into some spoilers. So, we'll tell you when you can, I guess, skip.
I mean, I kind of spoiled a little bit at the beginning, but it wasn't really anything they haven't shown in any of the music videos or game trailers that they've dropped. So if you've seen all that, probably most of the stuff we're saying shouldn't be shocking.
So if you want to avoid spoilers, wait until we hop and talk about other things. But non-spoiler stuff, I don't know if you want to begin. Why don't you begin? Because you started a little bit after me.
Yeah, so this came out when one of my favorite game franchises, God of War, also decided to drop a game. So, and this is also the same week we finished Sonic 2006 for our episode 150. So I was a little Sonic burnt out a little bit, but I'm like, I gotta try Frontiers. But actually, I think played Frontiers that Friday of that week.
Okay.
Because God of War I installed in the morning. I got it, I think on Thursday afternoon I installed it and had made sure it was good to go. But I was like, let me try Sonic Frontiers first, and then we'll do God of War at night with the lights off. It'll be all cool. So, but I was like, okay, let's do Sonic Frontiers. And well, the first issue I ran into for me, non-spoilers, was I couldn't play the game because I didn't install it because I had to wait an extra hour. I thought it downloaded. I let it sit, and it still didn't install. But then it lets you just do the same level over and over again. And it does the opening cutscene, which is interesting. It does the opening cutscene, and then the first level, 1-1. Okay. And then it's like, sorry, the game's not ready yet. I'm like, why even let me get to this point?
Yeah,
don't I got hyped
so
up.
Weird.
And then it didn't go. But I guess my overall thoughts, I'm about 6-7 hours in.
Okay.
I just beat the first boss. And now I've gone to a new spot, perhaps. And I will just say this game is a breath of fresh air after playing Sonic 2006 for sure. But I'm actually having a lot of fun with it in a way that I wasn't expecting. A lot of
I
our
was
concerns,
not expecting to have fun.
Yeah, but a lot of the concerns we had just based off the gameplay trailers and all the other trailers we saw, I felt I was a little nervous going in of how repetitive is some of the fighting going to be. Okay, the rails are popping in and out. How's that going to look? Honestly, at least on the PS5 version, can't speak for the Switch or whatnot. Shit isn't popping in. The graphics look decent. Frame rate's great. Shit isn't popping in and out as often. But I find myself just wanting to explore, and I can just let my ADHD brain kick in and then go from one rail to the next. Oh, this looks cool. I'm going to go here now. Oh, shit, let's go over here. And then, I'm flying, jumping off this launch pad to go to another section. And I'm like, oh, now there's this. I love that. I love that I could just keep going, and I feel productive that way. Compared to other Sonic games that I've played where it's just you versus the level, and then whether you beat it or not is you progressing. This, it feels like you're always progressing. And I feel like in our day of age and our generation, especially, and generation a little bit earlier than us or later than us, we want to feel productive a lot. We want to feel like our synapses in our brain are constantly going. We don't want a dull moment, right? That's why TikTok exists. But I feel like this game is great for that. It's just you keep moving, and if you don't want to do this section, you can just go. You can go over here. You don't want to do this, you can go over here. And there's a bunch of collectibles. You figure it out as you go, but it's just fun to just collect shit. It's fun to see the new things pop in as you progress. But it also feels like I did so much, and it's only been 25 minutes. That's fantastic. Thank you. That's the kind of stuff I want. And honestly, if I stepped away now, I'd still feel satisfied. I still feel like the $60 price tag for me right at this moment, I'm a cheap bastard, so I'm a little I wish it was 40.
There was a freak sale that happened a couple of days ago where it was $40 all day, physically on Amazon, or I think it was Amazon. And you and I both got digitally. You wanted to do it digitally. I wanted it physical, but Amazon wasn't going to give it until I still wouldn't have gotten it. I would have in a couple days it would have finally arrived. So I canceled that.
You couldn't do your homework,
Yeah. But sorry, go on.
But yeah. I think just overall, just really liking it. The music's feels modern and but also Sonic-y and all the I know some of the trailers are oh, this is Breath of the Wilds with obviously it's Sonic, the melodies and shit from the older games, but there's some dubstep in there, some freaking metalcore. I was yo, there's some screaming vocals. I'm what in Sonic? I'm okay,
yeah.
I'm okay, but then there's some awesome electronic and just music
lots
happening
of,
during
drum and bass stuff, right?
Yeah, just it goes hard, but it feels fresh. It feels like 2022. You know what I mean? I think they hit the mark on that. Where we're trying to do something that's with the times, that keeps you going, keeps you energized. And I think if that's what you're looking for out of a Sonic game, you got it. And honestly, a lot of the stuff we pitched our dream next Sonic game, like I think back in like January, or no, I think it was last year.
It was a summertime episode.
I don't remember when we did it, but like a lot of the stuff we pitch is actually in this game. So I'm just like, I think that is kind of funny that I'm like, yes. Yeah, I still think there's some stuff that they can flesh out over time and whatnot. But I feel like this is like a breath of fresh air, a breath of the wild, brush of fresh air, and just could be a step, I think, into the future. What Sonic could potentially be if they keep working on some of the stuff here. There's some little things I'd change, but I'm not gonna. I don't have a list right in front of me right now, but there's like some little stuff. But yeah, I'm just like, this feels good, man. Like, thank God.
You say like it's of the times. That's what Sonic needs to always be. He's always supposed to be cool, and cool is contemporary. It is literally what's cool right now is not what was cool in the 90s, although some of that stuff does cycle. There's like a 20-year type of thing where everyone's fascinated with
80s is cool again. Yeah,
like there's people that are
cool.
There are people that are like, oh man, the early 2000s fashions was so cool. Like, I've seen those jeans girls wore with the low waist jeans. Like, nah, that's not cool. I mean, my Game Boy Advance SP was cool, but you know, not that. But, so Sonic, yeah. I mean, like, but the music especially. Sonic Forces has an awful soundtrack. I'm just gonna say that Sonic Forces is a terrible soundtrack. But there was dance stuff in there. There was the Avatar levels had music that was very drum and bass stuff, and this is just better than that. This just is, because it's not corny. It's just cool. Forces had corny music. This is cool. It could be the same people. You know what I mean? I don't even know who's the composers on this, but it does feel very good. I would say, just keeping on the music, it does feel a little bit like it's in jumping all over the place, but in ways I'm not against. I do find that the overworld open zone music sometimes doesn't fit the tone that I'm playing it in. Like, I'm running breakneck. I do want a like dun like type of backing to it. So perhaps a future game might incorporate different,
more situational cues.
You know how like Nier Automata and even Replicant has different layers to the music depending on the intensity of what you're doing. Do something like that here. When you're boosting, when you're just make it based off speed and stuff like that would be cool, but I'm not complaining. The boss fight music is it adds to it in a way where I'm like, let's go. We could talk about that in the spoilers, but I would say, this game has done the one thing. I'm just going to put this out there. I haven't finished it. I am further than you. You did one, segment of the game. If based off, you at least beat a boss fight. I've done the second one, and I started the third. So I've done a lot more. And the second area is a lot bigger and more segmented. Very segmented, but still feeling open. I'm going to put it out there because I played enough of this to know for a fact this is the best Sonic game I've ever played. Because it gives me...
He's saying it. He's saying it, folks.
Sonic Adventure 2 will always be my favorite Sonic game because that was my first. But this game does what that game has glimpses of, what this game, Sonic 06, has never done. Not even once. And a few Sonic games like the Generations and the Unleashed and even Colors and games have had, which is moments where you're just going fast and you are in control over what you're doing, where you're going, how you're doing it. Moments where you are, all right, I'm going to jump off this rail early and boost over to this and that. And like, you have that freedom to do it, where you are chaining your actions in a way to keep momentum how you want to do it. I've seen some people like say, oh, it's like a Tony Hawk level in that sense, where like you just go, you rack up points. I don't know, do stuff, just grind around, do cool stunts, So I see that. This doesn't necessarily have a momentum based, like constantly doing good makes you go faster. It doesn't have that. Maybe that would make it better. Maybe that would make it worse. I don't know. But I'm happy with what's there. It actually gives me the constant speed where I feel like I'm not watching a movie and I'm not doing something that I either do this or I don't go fast and do something slow. I am choosing where I want to go. I'm choosing what I want to do. You played the 2018 Spider-Man game. You've swung around the city for no reason, and you've tried to go as fast as you can go, and you've decided, I'm going this way, I'm going that way, whatever.
I'm going to jump off the tallest building, because why not?
Right. He's just going to land on the street, and they're going to change your punch button to a wave button. Sonic is the same way, although they will let you punch Amy if you want. But yeah, I think this is the best Sonic game that I have played because of this reason alone. I will say that the what are they called? Cyberspace levels. There is a little bit to be disappointed of, but that's really literally an aesthetics thing. But there's so much to love in them. Sonic Unleashed started the boost gameplay where sometimes it's 2D, sometimes it's 3D with 3 different maybe lanes, lots of grind rails, micro challenges come at you and you address them as you go. Colors did that a lot more, and then Generations kind of refined it down, even though the game still had a BS difficulty ramp up towards the end where some later levels just weren't fun to play as the earlier ones. It did still feel like those micro challenges were being like, all right, you're still going to go fast, but if you address these correctly, you go faster. This game does that an S rank tier, where I feel like every single one of these, some are harder than others. I pretty much S ranked all of the ones I've done except for a couple of them. But this does that idea to a T, where the levels are quick and snappy. Some are straight up 2D, some are the 3D type of stuff. But you're in, you're out. If you fail, the fact that the music continues adds to that, where it just feels like this is a challenge you're doing. This isn't a level. This is a challenge you're doing. And they're all easy enough. It's literally what I've always wanted. Make all the Sonic levels easy, and then you can add things in there to challenge yourself. Literally, do it as fast as possible. Collect all the red rings. Collect this many rings. Okay, you're done. Get out. Go do the next one if you want. They're fantastic. Yeah. We could talk about spoilers with those in the spoilery part of this, but I find that fantastic. Honestly, everything. I would say I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. I am told that really doesn't affect anything.
Oh, true gamer.
True gamer mode. I'm told that it really doesn't affect too much. You can change in the options at any time. But supposedly, and this is a spoiler, but I don't actually know what the spoiler is, there is a quote-unquote true ending, and you need to do whatever the final boss, whatever that is, on hard. But you don't have to play hard the whole time. But I just did, because whatever. So... But I would say
you're a true gamer. You can admit it.
And I'm going to platinum this game. But I'll keep in mind, I'll keep keeping on that. This game is very easy, at least that first area, and I feel like the second one. Very easy in terms of all those collectibles. Like, I wasn't really going after portal gears. I made sure I fought at least one of every type of the Guardians, just because they're cool. There's one in the second area that is my favorite so far. But then, like, I have so many of them. I have so many memory tokens. And this was in pre-release footage and all that, but have you done the fishing stuff yet?
Yeah, I have. I'll dive into that maybe in our spoilers, but...
That, I will say, almost makes the rest of the item collecting not even matter. But I look at this more of, like, Sonic is always meant to be cool and for kids. And sure, a lot of kids played Breath of the Wild. A lot of them have. But you know what? This is their first attempt at making a game like that, and they want to make it not a pain in the ass to do progress. If they want you to feel like you can do what you want and not have to do everything, they made it easy to do that. You know what I mean? Just because I want to platinum the game and I, unlock every bit of the map and I want to make sure I talk to Amy every single place I can, doesn't mean that everyone does. And therefore they made it so you don't have to in order to speed through it. So I'm not upset about that. But why don't we talk about spoilers now? Let's do it. Start talking. What do you want to talk about?
Just spoil everything. So yeah, I feel like like I don't really care too much about the plot, but at least the plot is simple, where I'm not gonna get lost or forget. So basically, what happens, at least I don't know. I'm assuming it's the same for everybody. Sonic it was on the plane with Tails and Amy and Knuckles. I think is there as well.
No,
he's not there. Oh, he gets trapped in the prologue.
Which I never watched.
But yeah, they get shot down, or I don't remember exactly. But basically, Sonic's got to go save his friends by getting all the Chaos Emeralds on the island, which is cool because then you know at what part the next kind of the boss fight will happen. So it makes it like easy to be like, hey, I want to collect all this stuff first, or I want to upgrade all my shit first. I did do the fishing, and I realized you could just keep fishing for a while, and I just did it until I ran out. Because I was like, I don't like fishing in video games. I'm sorry, I just don't. I rather fish in real life, which is already kind of
annoying,
low key and
boring,
and can be annoying. Even though I'm hoping to learn to fly fish soon. Well, actually, I've done some training courses, but hoping to really get out there one day. But I just like knocked it out.
You should bring a video game fishing controller with you.
I'll try it out. But for me, like I got through the fish. I just went until I ran out of hooks, and I feel like I kept collecting new stuff. So I'm like, at least I'll get credit for that. Where it's like I'm getting a crawfish, I'm getting a clam, I'm getting a trout, swordfish, whatever. I just keep getting a new thing every time. There's no duplicates. Cool. But yeah, then you could just buy a shit ton of everything you want. Which is cool. I appreciate it.
It's also a very easy mini game. You don't even need to use the analog stick to aim where you want to cast it. That doesn't matter. Just press X. We played on PS5. Press X. Okay, someone bit. Press X again. All right, now press X when the white ring is in the red ring. Like I'm in the second area. I was getting ones where, so like some of like ones like, oh, here's the golden treasure box, and it's it's like faster. There are 2 red rings. You have to make sure you press it once and then press it a second time as it reaches 2 of them. Mm-hmm. That's the hardest I have seen so far. But then buy everything. I do like the Eggman voice memos.
It's a cool little collectible. Yeah. But I was gonna say, the boss fight, the first real big one, or I mean the one to get to the next level, the guy Gantua or whatever his name is,
Ganto, whatever his name is,
big man. Because you do a couple like bosses, but they're just kind of regional on the map, and they're not really too difficult.
They're called one of Guardians,
and you do them twice. Some of them. So I did one of all of them at least. And then so I get to the big one there. And I died the first time, but I didn't realize that it starts at 100 rings, and you can't leave until you beat it, which kind of sucks. I'm like, I wish
that
you could leave.
Because I wanted to grind rings first.
But what I learned is you can just do the Psy loop, and you can just quickly get. I got like,
God, I never remember that.
Yeah, I just did that and got 250 rings. Then I fought him, and I beat him easily. Once I did a couple times. And I'm just gonna say it, but my anime consumption isn't that big. I've seen, the Evangelions, okay? And I will say, this reminded me, this boss fight where he shoots the lasers out of the back, that's straight up from Shin Gojira. I swear to God. They're like, they watch Shin Gojira and they're like, that shit's cool. Let's do this. Because they love lasers in Evangelion. Then, I think his name is Hideko Anno, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
He did Evangelion. He did Shin Gojira, and he also did Shin Ultraman, which is coming soon. Can't wait. He loves his lasers and beams and shit, and I'm like, that just reminded me of so much of it. So I'm like, cool, you got my my kind of shit in there. The only thing I'm kind of not liking is some of the voice lines or voice execution just is kind of not hitting for me. But like I said, I don't really care about the plot too much, so whatever. And they don't talk that often where I care. But I'm just like, you know what? Sonic's fine. He sounds a little older now. I get that voice actors.
Roger Craig Smith is doing a deeper voice.
Yeah, he sounds more like his Mirage in Apex Legends.
Kind of, yeah.
So for me, it's just taking me out of it a little bit.
Tones. I've seen which I've seen Knuckles and Tails already. Spoilers. And they sound mostly the same, but there is a more serious tone to it. Sonic does still make, funny quips, but it's a lot of, hey, I don't know what we're doing here. We need to hurry up and go type of stuff. Just going off that boss fight, I will say, and I haven't played every Sonic game, but I played the ones that matter. I feel like this is probably, I think, the most fun Super Sonic has been. They feel like they've learned how to use it in a way that feels overpowered and insanely obnoxious without ruining the game. Because, in other games, you could be Super Sonic and in the levels, so they had to make sure you don't destroy the level. But here, fuck it. It's for a boss fight, and when you're done, he loses it. You know what I mean? So you can have him literally, like, pick the dude up and throw him around or whatever. Fly straight through him like Goku or something like that. The music elevates that. It's so corny and dumb in a way that you can't help but, like, enjoy anyway. And, you want Sonic to win. You want him to be like, yeah, fuck this creepy dude. And if you lose, or if you run out of rings as Super Sonic, the thing eats you. So, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I like, I do find the story predictable once, because depending on your progress, and a lot of the progress is dictated by the side, they call them side story stuff, talking to Amy and the other people, other Sonic friends, side story stuff, but that's also a part of the main story, because I don't really have much to, to really have for different story stuff. Interspliced, depending on how much your progress is, you see Eggman talking to Sage, his, AI program kid thing. And okay, I'm already seeing the where the story is going here. I'm not really going to spoil it for you.
Because it's the girl from Resident Evil, right? It's the red girl, the AI.
Is it?
That's the big twist, right, Ethan?
Yeah, that's the big twist. But no, like you can just tell where this is going, and I'm like, okay, this is if this goes in a way that I feel isn't bad or boring, then that's neat. I do think that means that Eggman couldn't be the final boss if this is going the way I think it's going. But, I'm not against it. I do find this type of antagonist that still is just around for you to go to talk to, not all that antagonistic. You know what I mean? I don't really take that seriously all that much, but I don't think she's going to be the final boss or anything like that. So that's just what I kind of gather out of that first area, at least. I will say, if we can talk about the cyberspace levels, we did an episode where we talked about this news where, hey, people were playing this at Gamescom or whatever it was, and people did comparisons like, hey, this level here, the layout is like this other Sonic games level here. And, well, I saw people being like, I don't know why they would do that. It's lazy. I'll tell you this right now. Taking the general layout from one Sonic game and remaking it using assets from this one, you're not saving yourself time. If anything, you're spending more time, I would think, trying to make sure you do it correctly as opposed to just making a new one. And I know, like, I've played some of these Sonic games a lot more repeatedly than you have. I've played Sonic Adventure 2, this one over here, so many times that I know those level layouts. And so, like, one of the last cyberspace levels I did in the third area, spoilers, I get to the very end and I'm like, oh my god, this was Green Forest. This was, the island's gonna explode. And I only realized this because, even though it used Green Hill's motif, only realized this at the very end where the goal is, the area is made up of like cubes, and then as soon as you fly over to that area from a spring or a boost pad or whatever, some of them start to fall down. I'm like, that's exactly how this level ends. Oh my god. And then all of a sudden my brain recontextualizes how the beginning level will go. Oh my god, they were using the zipline things to whip you around just like the vines in that level did. I'm like, this is fucking awesome, because they didn't copy the level. They recreated your memories of it. It's probably not literally one-to-one what it is. Sonic goes a lot faster in this game than he did in Sonic Adventure 2, over here. You know what I mean? But they took the ideas there. Like, yes, the gameplay is very similar. Exactly. It's very similar to Sonic Generations. So yeah, when Sonic Generations version of Chemical Plant is in this game almost verbatim, I'm like, okay, I can see a copy-paste job was the foundation that they built into this, but they did not copy. Well, there's no copy pasting in video games. That's not how it works. You know, I mean, from game to game, that's not how it works at all. But just generally speaking,
it isn't like Photoshop where you grab the image from your folder and you drag
save
it over.
as Sonic Frontiers. You know, doing a Dreamcast level, foundationally to make your challenge for this one, like, that is inspiration. That is cool. That is not a cheat code to save time on development. If anything, like I said, I think it takes more time to do that.
It's kind of cool too.
I've been seeing so many like that, and I'm sure there's plenty I missed that, like, I almost want to, like, once I beat the game, look up a video that says this level was this and be like, oh my god, I want to play it now.
And also that kind of ties into a little bit to what originally this game was supposed to come out, what was it, last year or the year before, for Sonic's anniversary.
Yeah.
So in a way, like, having homages to some of the classic levels throughout the last 20 years, however long it's freaking been, of Sonic the Hedgehog, I think that's cool. And for me, most of it's new. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. And it will be new for a lot of other people. Like, sorry if your butt hurt because you've played every Sonic game 40 times. Then play a different game. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's always the answer.
If there's anything screaming, this was Green Forest. I think that was the name of the level. It sucks that I'm hesitant on the name of the level I remember. It's just like abstract level design stuff. Again, I've only ever seen, and this is my one negative I really have of the game, and it's whatever really, is the aesthetics for the cyberspace. I've seen 4 aesthetics: Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant Zone, Sky Sanctuary Zone, and City Escape. Those are the 4 motifs I've seen used to make things. So, like, while it is very easy for me to see, okay, the City Escape one uses City Escape, but then when I'm like, oh my god, Shadow's first level in Sonic Adventure 2 uses Chemical Plant, and I remember because that level takes place on the Golden Gate Bridge, and this has literally a Golden Gate Bridge type thing going on, but it's Chemical Plant. I'm not expecting them to make all those, but only 4 motifs, and 3 of them are from a game from 2011, and another one they did make verbatim. You know, it feels kind of like I would have almost rather they would be not those at all, brand new motifs that they just use these 4, you know, A, B, C, and D to remake these things, as opposed to, like, I'm playing, you know, Chemical Plant and it represents something else that's not even remotely close to Chemical Plant is a little weird. But I'm not, it's a nitpick. It's literally aesthetics from a section of the game, when I feel like the main draw is the gameplay specifically for those sections. So it's my only real negative I have so far.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got maybe far enough yet to feel that way. I mean, for me, every time, I love the cyberspace levels. I just like how quick they are, like you were mentioning, and that if I lose, I'm like, okay, I can just quickly retry it. Like, it's in... Also, the loading on PS5 is fantastic. Like, you're able to skip shit, get right into it. That's what
fast traveled at all?
Yeah, that's super quick as well.
Literally instant. It's like just you're there. Like, there's nothing to even do.
So they did a fantastic job compared to. I'm just saying, just to see how far it came from Sonic Adventure 2, or Sonic 2006 with the loading screens. Just go from there to this. I bet that helps a lot. But yeah, I mean, just like, I think they like you said, Sonic has to be with the times, not just as a cool guy, but I feel like they made a game that fits the times. Where you need to have, we have SSDs now. Shit needs to be moving quick. You can't be waiting 2 minutes to get into the game. You know, this isn't. Maybe Skyrim can get away with it back in, you know, but an Elder Scroll game could get away with it. But like, no, like now shit needs to be going quick. But yeah, you can just jump into a cyberspace level, get back, and you're good. yeah, there's just so many more positives than negatives too. That it makes it so much easier to be like, yeah, this is the best Sonic game. This is the best Sonic game we've had in a while. Yeah, for me, it's definitely so far is probably the best Sonic game I've played. I don't know if it's my favorite yet. We'll see. It's definitely going that way, maybe because I haven't played enough of the Sonic games compared to other Sonic fans. But it'd be interesting to see how this, for me, how it pans out for both of us as well, and just when we both finish it. And we'll definitely do maybe a deeper dive into the game of some degree. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
And we'll keep people updated in the various episodes going forward. Bits and pieces, maybe opinions change here or there before we finally finish. Go ahead. I plan on platinuming this game on PS5, and I will go back and play the PS4 version and platinum it as well. The trophy list is easy. It is the easiest Sonic game to platinum. I would say Colors Ultimate would be easier, but that game will try to delete your save file, so probably not easier than this one. But this fits into what the modern day open world or just large ass game with side quests trophy list should be. Do most, not all. Do most,
not all.
You know, the maps pieces those puzzles are very simple and very easy. The challenges are very simple, very easy, and that's good. I don't want a challenge from them because I don't want to get frustrated. It would be unnecessary to get frustrated there. If anything, the cyberspace levels would be where you might want to throw the challenge in, because you don't need to S rank them all. You just need to S rank one of them, any one of them. And there are some easy ass ones. Level 1, 2 is very hard to S rank if you're doing it the way you think you would do it. But then all the other ones I've done since then, except for maybe 1 or 2 that I wanted to make literally perfect, I've S-ranked them all, no problem. S-rank a single one.
There's ones I did it 3 tries. One round, I'll just focus on the rings. 1 round, focus on the coins, and then be like, okay, I have familiarity with this.
There's going to be levels where you're just going to do all of them at once. You're not even going to realize, I wasn't really trying to S-rank it.
Or you get 4 out of 5 red coins. You're like, okay, cool. I know where...
And just probably on the next run. Yeah. You can, I got the 3rd and the 5th. So
this is maybe. But it's funny is on Twitter, on our Twitter account, I've seen people talking a lot of shit about this game. So I just find it interesting that I feel like we both like it. Maybe it's just the diehards out there. I mean, the diehards are always just unhappy, right?
Diehards want this game again. They just want this one.
Sonic 2006.
That's all they want.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun. Sounds like we're both having a lot of fun, and so far so good. So far it has the Sonic Movie Show seal of approval. Two thumbs up, right? We're going back to 2005 when we said these movies are 2 thumbs up. We're going 2 thumbs up on it so far. I mean, if I was reviewing this game and this is all the time I was able to do with it, I'd be like, yeah. What were the Metacritic scores again? Around 70? Something like that?
Yeah.
I get it. I'd maybe bump it up a little bit more, but fair. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we end this episode talking about some of the stuff that we've been playing or watching or whatever besides Sonic Frontiers. Do you want to go first, or I can go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I quickly made some notes. So I mentioned it earlier, God of War Ragnarok came out. Big God of War fan before 2018. Okay, I was one of the OGs. Not really. I was still too young to play the first one when it came out. I got into it around right after God of War 2 came out. That's when I kind of got into God of War. And then when 2018 came out, that was a big deal for me. I'm like, cool, he's getting a big reboot. And I was iffy on it too. I was like, I don't know.
I remember.
This isn't my kind of gameplay. Norse mythology is cool, but I don't know too much about it. But then playing the game, obviously, I was like, oh yeah, this is good. Then for it to win Game of the Year was even just icing on the cake, being like, oh cool, one of my favorite game franchise is now respected by the game industry. That's pretty cool. But then I beat it. I platinumed it, but I did it on easy mode because some of the bosses are the optional bosses are just way too hard for me. But I was I still want the experience. But you can do them on easy and you can platinum it that way. No regrets with that. Fuck everyone who's gonna be like, oh, you didn't beat it on extra hard or whatever. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I beat on easy mode. And I really liked the story. I loved the character growth that they gave Kratos, but I also like that they weren't afraid of acknowledging the past games to a degree. But I was like, okay, how are they going to build this up for the second one? And, seeing gameplay trailers and whatnot. I didn't watch too much of it because I didn't want to spoil. I feel like even game trailers are doing the movie trailer thing now where they're showing all the acts in the trailer instead of just the first maybe 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've been trying to avoid it, but I have a general knowledge of maybe some stuff that's coming up just based off trailers, unfortunately. But still, there's been a lot of stuff in this game that surprised me in a good way, like quality of life improvements that I didn't like in the first game. This isn't really a spoiler, but like in the first God of War game, when you get to because a lot of the levels are a lot of there's little islands and whatnot you can go to, right? And there's different stages you can get to. You can get to the top of this part, and then you can do this puzzle to unlock this section, and then you get to that. Oh, now you're back to the top again. And there's always that part where you can kick a chain down, right? And you'll just the game all of a sudden puts him to climb down the chain, then he climbs back up. Little pet peeve, right? Like that's how they could have fixed that. They fixed that in this game. Like, cool. You looked at it. You're like, this is dumb. Let's get rid of it.
What were players doing? They were just kicking it down to kick it down, not to climb down.
Yeah. So they added that little thing, but I thought they were going to do one thing of like, hey, like a lot of video games do. You got all your powers, right? And then we're to find a way to like take him away. And they really didn't do that. There's some stuff that they added to like, okay, well, it's been so long since the game of the first event, so maybe he doesn't have everything unlocked or whatever, but like no one acknowledges it, and I'm just okay with that, being like, I still have these weapons, I still have some magic, and that's cool. But the big thing for me is I feel like I'm more invested in the story because of the groundwork they laid in the first one, that this story just feels I'm just more into it. I'm actually like really caring more about the lore and like because you can like find things to read and stuff, and I'm like sitting there actually like reading and like thinking about it, and a lot of it's actually like from Kratos' perspective, and he makes reference to the original games, and I'm like, cool, yes, reward me for like having that knowledge. Like you're not just using Norse mythology to back this stuff up. You're making a reference to the guy he kicks into the Hydra's mouth
at the beginning of the first game.
Yeah, he makes a reference to that. So I'm like, but in a way where it's like not making fun of it or anything or disregarding it. It's just being like, reminds me of a mistake I made to a certain someone, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, like, okay, cool. You're like giving them growth, and you're also acknowledging that kind of stuff for the OG fans. Like, that's great. And there's some storytelling too of like, Atreus is asking Kratos like, okay, what's the biggest thing you fought? And he's like, he doesn't want to brag about it. I just think that's funny. Just like a lot of cool like humor in it. Also, the voice, like the actors are just fantastic. There's no spoilers, but there's other characters in it that like they're supposed to be either intimidating or funny, and they just executed it like perfectly for me. Where I'm like, yes. There's one part I literally was laughing out loud because of like the execution of the joke. And once again, they execute the one take kind of thing.
I was going to ask if it's still doing that.
Yes, it's still doing it, and they're actually doing it now where it pans over to like another scene, but they do it so like quickly and efficiently, but also beautifully. And I'm like, yes, like cool. It's like actually a conversation in another room happening. Okay, they pan over to that in a way that is like that you're not expecting. So far, honestly, I think it's better than the first one because I think they're just building off of it, and they fixed a lot of small things, and they're adding new types of puzzle mechanics that weren't in the first one, and just making it interesting. The enemies, there's a little bit more diverse enemies now. That was my little critique of the first one, is like you kept finding the Draugrs or whatever they're called. It feels like repetitively. There's been a little bit more now, and it seems like there's the different realms you go to. There is like, once again, there's different characters, but it doesn't feel too repetitive so far. And the game rewards you once again for exploring everything and whatnot, and makes you feel good for just finding the little stuff. Like I love that shit. There's that one part where there's like a little side quest you do that unlocks like a whole section of a map, and I'm like, what? Like
Oh,
just adds
really?
a whole second layer to the map, and I'm like, and it's just fucking dope. And then so you just keep doing it, and then it's just there permanently. And I'm like, you
Are
might never
you
find that. You know, what I mean, I just love that shit where it like rewards you for like not just sticking with the main quests.
are you doing all the side quests as they come out?
If I run into them, some of them are like I can. Most of them so far have been I was able to do them to completion, and they're not too long. They're kind of just like go to these 3 spots and do these 3 things, or find this one item, or unlock this one door. I think there's only one so far that like I just didn't have access to yet, just because I don't have. I'm assuming I get something later in the game that I can come back to and do that little puzzle. But for the most part, I'm able to complete side quests like satisfactory.
Okay.
I've
I've heard, and this is not a spoiler, but I've heard 2 things. You mentioned referencing the beginning of God of War 1, which I remember, because I remember like he needed a key from this guy, and he just throws the guy down the throat of the Hydra. I'm like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
I know it referenced that. Apparently, it also references. I don't know if you want this another game that he's been in. That is not a God of War game that he's been in.
Is it Mortal or not a
PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale?
PlayStation
Apparently, he references that, which I am
funny.
very curious because
I'll
he was
have
the
to
most
see if I get
bullshit
it.
character in that game because it was very easy to auto combo with him. But I also know that this game does something like Nier Automata with its side quests, where a side quest will. I don't know what the story of this game is, but I'll say Nier Automata had a side quest, or spoilers for that game. The side quest where you find out that, there was this android, she's trying to find her friend, and you find their friend and she's dead, and she's like, you need to find the killer, but it was her the whole time because she's an executioner android. It's foreshadowed literally the ending of the game where you find out the main character was this role secretly the whole time. If you didn't do that side quest, it doesn't have the same impact. I've heard that this game has something like this with a side quest, 2, I don't know how many, but their ones were like, oh, if you're not doing this, story stuff doesn't impact you as much. So that's what I've heard.
I feel like but I think that's why these games are kind of game of the year material though, is because I think you find an urge to do that. Like as soon as like this one section opened up and they're like, and Atreus literally says, oh, do we have time to explore? Like the game even tells you like, hey, it's okay to go and explore this. Don't feel pressure to go to the next chapter and whatnot. Like, don't worry about the pacing as much. And that is just good for me because there's a lot of games I play that have that kind of open worldness to it, right? Or like there's multiple routes, and I get stressed a little bit or anxious because like, well, we're on the run right now. Do we have time really to like? Doesn't feel right to like go and explore this cave for funsies, for gear. Like it's like, no, we're supposed to be running or fighting the bad guy, right? So
that was the Final Fantasy 13 problem, where there's no towns or anything to go to because our characters are on the run the whole damn time. So it was a very linear game because the story dictated it,
So for me, I mean, I haven't played Elden Ring, and we'll do our Game of the Year, like our Game Award stuff. But like for me, I'm just like, I've only played 6-7 hours of it, and I'm like, it's doing everything I wanted and more, and it's just makes me feel good and like just I don't know, just I'm like yes,
makes me feel good.
Yeah, so I'm just like, you know what, whatever, it's my game of the year, I don't even care.
Nice.
So
I still have to finish the 2018 one. But
I want you to because I need someone to talk to about it sometime. There's like some just cool stuff in the first one that I really.
How long do you think it would take for me to platinum God of War 2018?
I think it took me 50 hours to beat the entire game. But I'm saying if you do the story, it's like maybe 30.
Because I might.
But platinum it to do everything is like roughly. I think it was 50 for me, but like there's some sections that maybe I would recommend doing beforehand. But also if you look at a guide, you can figure out there's like there's certain like side bosses that you have to beat to get the platinum.
I got stuck,
and they're very tough if you're not leveled up or you don't have the right gear. It doesn't matter how good your skill level is, you'll just get your ass fucked if you're not you're not prepared for them. And that was even on easy mode. I still lost to them multiple times. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
did the thing that happened to me often where you play a bunch and then you go do something else, and then months later you come back.
that's one of the reasons I've been trying to play like every other night or every 2 nights. Just even if it's like an hour or two, because I'm like, cool. It's like a little movie in that way, where it's just like or watching a TV show at that point. The only other things I've been doing, I'm on God of War would be my main thing to talk about. But I finished Atlanta because the last season came out last month, and we finally caught up and finished it. That show's been running since 2016. It's kind of crazy, but it had like 2 to 3 year gaps in between seasons.
Oh, okay.
But it's just kind of crazy to think about it that like we started watching it in 2018, and then like I was like just going through the episode list, and I'm like, damn, it's really been that long, huh? But it feels like yesterday. Finished that, and then I think it's the last season of Handmaid's Tale, but that also came out a couple months ago.
Don't you hate this show?
I know. I
don't like the show. Why are you watching?
I don't really. I don't. But I come back. Well, Bryn likes it more. But it's starting to get good in the sense that like the characters I actually do like in the show are doing cool shit, and the people I don't like are either dying or getting punished. And I'm like, yes, at least you're aware that these people are assholes or are dumb. Because that's my issue most of the time is like some of these people are very reactionary, but I guess maybe that's the point. My main issue with that whole show is that the main character June, they really want her to be like the white Harriet Tubman. I'm just gonna say it. It's the white Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
But without any of like, most of her decision making is selfish as fuck, and I get so pissed off. That's what makes me so mad about the show. Mostly is that she's always about her kid, but not about everyone else's kid. It's not good enough if she's not happy, and it's like. I'm not going to dive into it. I can be here all night talking about it, but
I got you.
If you watch the show, feel free to hit me up in the DMs.
I'm not watching the show. You don't even like it.
Yeah, let me know if I'm not. Also, I think the author came out as a TERF.
Oh, so, okay. That's weird. Then.
Yeah. So the story about women being super oppressed, obviously in a Catholic-esque world.
But that's what these TERFs do, is they think that they're feminists, but they're literally excluding people,
Yeah.
Whatever. So, my turn now. I have played a lot of Sonic Frontiers. It's pretty much what I've done. I have some Square RPGs that I've been sitting on, and I haven't yet started to play them, but I've been watching, I watched the She-Hulk show. And like, there's this cool dude in red, and his name is the Daredevil. So I watched the first season of his show, the Netflix The Daredevil show, and then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna watch all of the Netflix Marvel stuff. It's all on Disney Plus. I got halfway through Jessica Jones, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done for now. Maybe one day I'll come back.
I don't even know what that is. I know nothing about that. I don't even know what they look like or what they do. Powers.
She's just strong. And she drinks a lot, and she's a private investigator. Yeah, I almost said private inspector. No, you're checking your pipes.
Who are you?
But the villain in this first season of her show is cool in that his power is that he'll tell you to do something, and you do it. It's all you ever want to do is whatever he says, and he he literally controlled her life. And like when you see women that have these stories of, I had my ex-boyfriend, had my phone, had my Facebook account, had this and that. I could literally, but it's like literally materializing that as this dude that had control over her life, and she has PTSD over it. So that aspect's cool. I don't like the fact that this dude is Doctor Who from one of those old Doctor Who shows. I'm like, I don't like that show, and therefore I don't like this man. And that's sorry to say that, and so, but whatever. That's why I stopped that. But in the recent couple weeks, I've watched 2 things on the YouTube. First off, this came out a couple days ago. H Bomber Guy came out with a new video essay. It starts off about the Roblox sound effect where the kid goes oof for 30 minutes, and then it just delves into this whole thing about how the guy that made the sound effect, but he didn't make the sound effect, is just this pathological liar that is clout chasing so much that he'll claim that he worked with Shigeru Miyamoto on Metroid Prime for 5 years. He claims he was the first American to ever work on Sonic. He claims that he was on the Tony Hawk Pro Skater team of only 10 people, when like there's obvious contradictory facts and evidence. And it goes into how people can pay for Guinness Book of World Records, and how all that stuff is. I recommend that. It's under 2 hours. It definitely was something I heard about a while back, like a couple months ago, that was kind of bubbling up, but this stuff had been bubbling up for years because this dude is also a part of a bunch of scammy investor stuff and this and that. So
Classic.
It's cool to see stuff I had seen bits of on Twitter be actually investigative journalistic into one whole 2 hour thing where like I feel like there's a bow tied on all this stuff, and I'm satisfied. I want to see more, but I'm satisfied with the telling of it all. And there's no way in hell that this dude's life is not going to change now that people can easily see he claims this. He did not do that. He claims he did this. He did not do that. He claims he has 7 different Guinness Book of World Records. It's actually 3 of them, and some of them have been updated multiple times. He claims this, it's not true. He claims this, it's not true. This is very fascinating. The other video essay.
I was going to say, H-Bomber guy is like just really good at telling a story, especially his last couple years, the ones he's done. He only maybe does, 2 or 3 a year? But they're worth it. They're worth the wait. You know what I mean? Like, the last one I know we both watched was the vaccine one. That one was just so freaking good. So
we talked about that on this show months and months ago. Yeah. The other video essay I had watched is from another dude whose stuff I really love, Tim Rogers of Action Button. Does these video game reviews, and he's done... Well, first off, he did a very, very, very drawn out and in detailed deep dive into Final Fantasy VII script for Kotaku years ago. Like, just beat by beat. It was very, very cool to see. But since leaving Kotaku, and he's done his own YouTube channel where he'll do a few hours to review in supreme detail a video game that interests him. He did Final Fantasy VII Remake was the first one. Then he did Last of Us Remastered. Then Doom, then this dating game on PS1 that is the spawn of all of these dating games, and that was 5.5 hours, and it made me want to play it, which is how crazy that is. And he did Cyberpunk 2077. There's another game in there that I'm forgetting, but then this one is on a game for PS1, only in Japan, called Boku no Natsu Yasume. His kid... in the month of August, is being sent by his dad to live with his aunt and uncle in rural Japan for a month. And you play every time, Resident Evil with the tank controls. It's like that. Yeah. When you leave an area, time passes. So eventually the day ends. And just do whatever you want. You can do literally nothing. The game tells you did a good job at the end. If you try to do everything, the game will tell you you're a liar because you can't do childhood correctly and you cheated. It's crazy. The Tim Rogers goes, and this episode, this review is 6.25 hours long. This game made him go back to his childhood home in Kansas and experience what he was doing as a kid again, and all this stuff. And like, I watched this twice. Watched it when it first came out, and I watched it again recently. And this was a transformative like YouTube video essay. I don't know if I can necessarily recommend something this long.
That's two Avengers Endgames right there,
Right? But I mean, I highly recommend this video. I highly recommend it. It's one of those things where it's like it's a video game review, but it's got a point and an angle, and it delves into all of the... I always see people on Twitter or even on YouTube be like, oh, this game means this, and look at this and this. And for the most part, they're conjecturing and pulling shit out of nowhere. They want to have a point, and they want to make evidence tied to that. And some of it may be true, and a lot of it isn't. but it's fun to everyone makes the meme, oh, it's time for a game theory. Like, no, Link is not dead in Majora's Mask the whole time. That's not what it is. Stop trying to pull shit out of thin air. Or people be like, oh, the theme of this Batman game was this. And like, no, it's not. You can tell by playing the game, the story says it's about this, whatever. All those things are mostly phony, but entertainment. But this is genuine and real, and it just, I don't know, it works so well. So I highly recommend this. That's kind of what I have been watching. I've been playing a lot of Sonic Frontiers in the meantime, so that's what I've done.
I forgot to add one thing, and I'm just gonna say it. We watched Army of Darkness the other night.
Okay.
Just because we watched the other two Evil Dead movies, like just for our Halloween runs in the last couple
Army
of
of Darkness
years.
is the third?
Yeah.
I thought it was the second.
Nope. Well, canonically, I think it's the second, but if you watch the original three, it's the trifecta. It's the build-up,
I see.
And I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm like, still holds. It's a fun movie.
Sam Raimi.
It's only an hour and 20 minutes. It's like mad short, too.
80 minutes long. Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa, it's done.
Huh. Yeah, well, next week on the Sonic Movie Show, we'll go into end of the year game stuff, I think. I think we're going to do Game Awards predictions, right?
The Game Awards.
So, thanks for stopping
World
by.
premiere.
World premieres this show. We'll see you next time on the Sonic Movie Show. You can find us in the meantime on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show.
Well,
just like it says right up there.
We'll know how long that'll be.
It's true. Fuck, I made all these.
It still works though. It still works on our other.
At the moment,
one of them's new. One of them's
our
new.
TikTok,
hopefully,
TikTok at Sonic Movie Show. I'm hopefully still on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely.
Instagram.
Devon's on
I was
Twitter.
Say
at
the new channel we got is on Instagram at Sonic Movie Show.
At Sonic Movie Show. Yeah, we're also on all the podcast stuff. I said this at the beginning. You know this. Go follow. Go subscribe.
And if you're watching this on YouTube,
things.
Drop that like now. You don't drop
right
at
now.
the beginning. Drop at the end because
apparently it helps the algorithm
at
the very end. Yeah. Which, I mean, how do you undo it and then make it count more? I don't know, but do it anyway.
If
you know what you're doing.
Just do it in general. Yeah.
But yeah.
And subscribe and all that stuff.
But yeah,
5
we'll see you
stars.
next week for another episode. Have a fantastic day.